Welcome to Holdback Podcast. My name is Jessica Hare. I operate Hare Hollow Farm, and we breed boas, balls, and select colubrids.
Hi, I'm Jana King. I operate ASM Royal Tails, and I breed high-end ball pythons.
We want to share our journey navigating herpetoculture and are dedicated to promoting biohazard safety for all species. And we would love you to answer the question, what's in your holdback rack? Welcome to the podcast.
Yes, welcome.
Good morning.
We don't have to do
good evening.
Our
good night.
Intro thing.
No,
right?
we don't. We're free to start in any awkward way we deem.
So, no JKR video today.
Conspicuous in his absence. Not
conspicuous
in any other way.
Now, what show is he at? You said he was
I don't know. His Patreon was like, we're getting ready for the show. We're busy. That was his update or whatever. I didn't even pay attention that hard or Google it. But there's probably a Texas show happening.
Okay, because I feel like he did a video for NARBC.
Yeah, you normally pre-record something, but
he has reached his pinnacle, and now he's like, I don't have to.
See, I don't think that's quite it. It's like the busy season anyway. And if he's getting ready for a show, he just doesn't care. Remember when he stopped doing videos for like 9 months because he just like stopped? Do you remember that? And then he's like, we're going to get back into it because it's like 2020 and he was not as busy.
That was pre-Jana 2020 basically.
Yeah, but he's like fallen off the like YouTube bandwagon a couple of times. So him failing to pre-record doesn't strike me as completely insane, even though it was very regular for a long time.
Okay.
All right.
That's cool. Dude's got a life. I get it.
What do you think?
I think he's stepping back, and I think he's making a very aggressive step back, and he's like, what are you guys going to do about it?
I think you're way overreading into whatever's happening. Totally you just got salty that he wasn't good old Justin, and now you're finding your Cheerios are lining up just right in your bowl, and you're like, oh, it's a sign.
The sign he's pissed in my Cheerios.
Yeah, I don't think that at all, no.
But Garrick DeMeyer's video, did you get to watch that?
No. What was it about?
Bongo clowns.
Well, they have pastel in them.
They do have. Some of them do, and actually it doesn't look terrible.
Yeah, pastel helps Bongo open up. I asked that sort of in jest because he has an excessive amount of pastel in his clown colony. So, like, he rarely can produce a clown without pastel.
His male, up until this point, his male Bongo clown was a super pastel. So all of his Bongo stuff had previously been pastel.
Hold the mic while I vomit gently into this bucket over here.
Okay.
Who would keep a super pastel clown male of any kind? Excuse me.
I guess with Bongo in it, he had to. So he had some like 2-year-olds and 1-year-olds and then new ones. They're actually not terrible. They look really nice.
For now.
I don't know. Bongo clowns.
I do like Bongo clowns. I am concerned that a single gene can wobble. That's troubling.
His looked a little wobbly. I'm not going to lie.
I'll wait to see what happens, but I would choose Cypress Bongo clowns first before picking Bongo clowns, just with that small piece of information right now.
Interesting. Why didn't you tell me this a month ago? I have a yellow
I didn't know the single gene
Bongo
wobbled. I knew the super was a nightmare, but the single gene I didn't think was a low key wobbler.
Well, I mean, it could have been all of the Dayquil that I'm taking. I did watch it today. Could have also been, he could have been pounding energy drinks. He does have like 1,500 babies right now that he's taking care of. So
I was under the impression that they do not wobble in the single gene form at all. And then I saw those Instagram posts and I was like, oh, so I wonder what the real mild wobble rate is. Is it like 10% like it is with champagne where it's barely, and that's 10% and the severity is very low. I didn't watch the video, so you know how young babies look like they have a wobble just because their muscles are weak? If you pick them up fast, even if they're not a wobbler, they just look weak. Was it like that? Okay.
So this week on Facebook, met the scurvy and ball pythons.
And I wanted to bring this up because probably what we're going to do is have like reoccurring like corners, like health corner or species I want to work with corner as part of the current events. So this is like the first version of weird health topics corner that isn't strictly about, something that would take up the whole time of episode. It's just something you should know.
Virus.
Yeah. Something like that is going to take a belabored amount of bitching and moaning to cover. But this is much more succinct. So a snake was on one of the ball python forums who had what appeared to be bruising, purple laterals, like it had been crushed. But the body was not deformed, like you physically had broken the ribs or whatever. It was just purple all down. That's a pretty clear sign of advanced collagen degradation from lack of vitamin C, also known as scurvy, if you're a pirate. And so snakes can synthesize vitamin C in their livers, but the ability to do that seems to be variable across the species. And the stuff that's primitive, so boas and pythons, that still has a girdle, they have even less capacity. So they need to eat it. And in rodents, except for guinea pigs, vitamin C is synthesized in the gut, where the food is interacting with the gut wall. So a prey item that is recently eaten, it has a sufficient amount of vitamin C in it to be fed to a snake and keep the snake's needs met. And vitamin C is important in collagen production in addition to being an antioxidant. So that's why they get those internal bleeding and their skin will slough off because they're not making enough collagen to have their skin be elastic anymore or to hold blood in. So that's why they start to bruise and their skin falls off. So how do you treat sort of advanced cases? You need to go to the vet, obviously, and get vitamin C injections. But how do you prevent that? You feed food items that are being fed food regularly. You don't have rodents shipped in, do not feed them overnight, and then feed them the next day without any food in their stomachs. They need to be always on food. It's as simple as that. And sometimes they'll get scurvy if they're just starving themselves, a snake, because they'll just run out of vitamin C because they haven't eaten in 9 months or whatever. So that would be a time when you would maybe consider supplementing, going to the vet and asking for injections. Vitamin C is water soluble, so it's considerably difficult to overdose, but you still should probably have a vet help you with the dosing that's correct for your animal. The Wikipedia article that's up right now on Wikipedia about being deficient in vitamin C in reptiles falsely claims that you need to supplement Rosenthal food with vitamin C because they assume that all of those rodents were culled with empty stomachs. And maybe that was the case a long time ago when we were getting mostly lab excess. But now we have rodents that are grown from dedicated stock and are culled with food in their stomach. So they do not need to be supplemented with vitamin C forever for a snake to have a full life.
I did do some poking around on this subject, and as far as I could tell, it's not a widely seen disease or occurrence, which was comforting. I did do a little bit of reading about it, and there is some thought process that it could also be the snakes that are getting it are also predisposed or have some kind of underlying autoimmune issue that is prone to not absorbing the vitamin C as well, and then they're subjected to these situations where the rats don't have food in their stomach, so they're lacking in vitamin C. But there was some thought, according to what I was reading, that some of these snakes have predisposed conditions. Does that make sense? That's why we're not seeing a widespread case of scurvy or people who feed shipped rodents.
I don't think people who feed shipped rodents, for the most part, are not feeding them food. But yes, there's probably differential abilities within different kinds of snakes for endogenous vitamin C production. The paper that was on, I don't know if you saw it, plains garters and eastern garters having a substantial ability to synthesize vitamin C in their livers.
No, I didn't see that one.
Okay.
That's fascinating.
So maybe because they eat fish and maybe fish have lower vitamin C, they've maintained their vitamin C production abilities. But animals that are routinely animals that eat rodents or birds that would have enough in the prey item, they might have lost the ability to synthesize enough vitamin C to meet their needs. And so they are obligate eaters of vitamin C. Like monkeys and humans and guinea pigs, you can actually just lose the ability to synthesize it altogether. But because monkeys and guinea pigs can find vitamin C in the environment, it's fine. We just sort it out. So some snakes will have better ability to do it, and maybe even within species. So yes, so maybe like specific individuals may have a differential ability to withstand low vitamin C food. But there's definitely case studies where like this 6-month-old boa died. It died from lack of vitamin C because the food item was fed 24 hours after being picked up with an empty stomach. It's common knowledge within vets that an animal that's not being fed appropriately can get scurvy. Interesting facts.
Interesting fact.
That's Health Corner. Next up. This is sort of a long topic. We could probably like way overdo it, but let's just do the sort of Reader's Digest version, which was on Herpetological Feedback and Inquiry Facebook group. They were rediscussing what is an appropriate payment method for a reptile transaction. What do you accept now, Jana King? What do you accept for ASM Royal Tails?
Use PayPal, which as I have as of yet had no problems with it. I read through the post and there was a lot of arguing and it felt like misinformation. It was my understanding, which might be misinformation, that the people whose accounts were being frozen were the people who were asking for friends and family payments. And I saw people arguing both in the comments, somebody saying that's completely inaccurate and other people saying, no, this is fact. So that's a little bit confusing to me, but I had thought people who have you pay goods and services haven't been attacked. Their accounts haven't been frozen. That was my understanding. So I usually do PayPal and I don't ever ask. I'm a new breeder anyway, and so I feel like asking for friends and family makes me look like a scammer, and so I don't ever ask. So I do goods and services through PayPal. I accept Venmo. I accept Square. I can invoice through Square. I can invoice through PayPal. I think.
Is your PayPal account a business PayPal account or a?
It is not. It is a personal.
Do you do the thing where you are forced? Not forced, but you choose to only invoice through PayPal, and then you link the tracking number to that invoice so that PayPal has like internal guarantees that you actually sent the product? Or do you not do that?
When I use PayPal, I always try to link the tracking. I just think that that's good business practice. I think moving into the future that Square will probably be my payment of choice. Is what I use at expos. I love it. I haven't had any problems with it. It's been a great service. What do you use?
Well, just very quickly, I will tell you that like Sean Gray, the Herps show promoter, had his PayPal funds seized and his account closed. So he sells tickets. So why was his closed?
Fascinating. Yeah, I do expect.
Or a sim container. They sell boxes you put eggs in.
Put eggs in, yeah.
They obviously, it's all good.
See those in the comments.
Yeah, those are all goods and service normal transactions with no like avoiding fees. It's easy for some people to be like, if you do it correctly, you'll be fine. Because I've always been fine for 20 years. But that's called survivorship bias. Just because it has worked doesn't mean it's going to continue to work. So I've stopped accepting PayPal. 100%.
Really?
Yep. It's in my
newsflash
store notes.
My PayPal.
Well, if someone I know wants to pay for some rats or something, it looks like a casual once every 3 months payment or whatever. I need to use my PayPal to like buy things on the internet that have nothing to do with my business. Right. Since it's not my business PayPal anyway, I'm trying to get everyone to go through Square to like standardize invoicing.
How is that working?
It's terrible.
Everybody as in your customers or everybody in the industry?
Whoever wants to send me money. I would prefer they go through Square. And there a lot of people are like, I don't want to use it because I don't know what it is. And I'm like, if you've been to an expo, you've used a Square reader. A. B.
You bought fireworks, you've used Square.
Or you went to the bakery, my cookie bakery in Rainier uses a Square point of sale. It's the same thing. And they're like, well, you don't want to pay the PayPal fee. I'm like, I pay 3% to Square. It's the same.
It's the same. Yeah. It's the same for us.
So And since my like credit card fraud incident of 2021, I've been requiring IDs for credit card processing through Square. And so 100% of all people, which isn't that many, it's like 3, have declined using Square because they don't want to give me their ID and sent me Cash App, which is obviously a non-refundable, which would be my second option. So if you don't want a buyer's guarantee, you can use Cash App. If you do, Square. But I need a copy of your ID.
You've been trying to transfer and you've been losing your sales over it?
Yeah, probably. It's fine. I don't care.
That's fine. Totally fine. Yeah, we'll just go.
Come at me. I'm so tired of like worrying about people's credit card and who they are and where they're coming from. Send me a money order. I'll accept your money order. I'll hold it. Let's see if it shows up. Let's go back to 1999. When no one is sending you a money order. No, some people might. Steve,
all the new
Steve Roylance
money orders
is like, I'm not taking anything anymore. You send me a money order or a check, and we'll wait 15 days for it to clear because they can't do a chargeback on that. I don't know. It's tough. I don't know the answer. I'm doing the best I can. I'm trying not to use PayPal. I still have credit card fraud problems.
Like consumer standpoint, a baby boomer consumer in the ball python industry, I can tell you right now that the pop culture, social media teaching you how to buy a ball python, you asking for ID and you wanting Square, it's making you sound like a scammer. And it shouldn't. Like, that's a responsible business person. If you walked into a store, you would not question their Square. You, like you said, the bakery has it. And you would not question if someone asked to see your ID.
I'm trying to protect the person. Yeah, the person whose card that is, just to make sure that they are the person buying the snake. Because I ship to Hub, so I can't actually verify that the billing address matches their personal address. And technically, they could get a fake ID or whatever.
Yeah, I don't see a way around that. I don't disagree with what you're doing. I'm just saying that it makes people uncomfortable, and it shouldn't.
Well, they're just going to have to learn, because
we're going to have to retrain.
Yeah, it's just like learning what Cameroon scammers are on Facebook groups. You know, they take pictures of like some happy person with their snakes. They change all their pictures. They timestamp them, but usually forget to change the location ID or whatever. They pretend they're a whole person, and they try to sell you a snake and like get you to pay extra vet certificates or whatever. And they've just taken your Venmo, Cash App, whatever. So you need, if it's me, you're buying from me or somebody else or whoever, you always need to double check. So I can be double checked. You could Google my company and who I am and find all kinds of information that proves that by using Square, we're okay. We're okay. That's what everyone should do all the time.
Square is okay. Anyway, I would like to be using Square because it's hard to use PayPal and not know when they're just going to say,
bye.
Yay, bye. You're done, Z's. So I don't keep cash in PayPal. I do use PayPal. But let's be real, you know, I got a bunch of fireflies this season, so nobody needs to even be seeing that on Morph Market. So my sales are at the reptile show.
Right, and at the reptile show, things are maybe a little bit different. I'm not going to check someone's ID at the reptile show. I might, actually, if it's over $1,000, but maybe under that. There's a guy in the Discord. I don't know if anybody wants to join the Discord. He was talking about chargeback scams.
Shout out the Discord first.
Oh, so we have a testing friendly Discord, and we ended up just mostly devolved into just talking about snakes anyway, because there's only so much sort of new content with like disease testing and what do we do about certain viruses. But he has had, like, for his other business, regular chargebacks in the multiple thousands of dollars for whatever his product or service is. And even if he shows the ID, the bank still sides with the other person that they like did not receive it most of the time. So me asking for ID doesn't even really protect me. It just slows down maybe an actual scammer, because they might stop, but maybe not. So maybe it is a waste of time. And you should just like assume that 10% of your profits a year are going to go to chargebacks, because that's how potentially prevalent it is in high risk categories like pets.
Wow. That's disappointing to hear.
Yeah, so it obviously has to be built in. It's obviously a write-off that you lost a certain amount of money to chargeback fraud, but it's not very good feeling to send a snake and have it gone. They probably just resold it for meth or something on Craigslist for $200.
Yikes. Square is the future.
Maybe. CD Exotics got her Square shut down because she was selling animals.
I did see that. I do follow her. And she said that she was doing friends and family, not goods and services.
No, she got her Square shut down.
Her Square?
Yeah. Go back on
not
Instagram.
Her PayPal.
No, her PayPal's still up.
Wait, so Square is coming next? Both are
This is a couple of months. No, right now, like, it's sort of, if you can go below their radar, it's fine. But they, I don't know, ended up feeling triggered or something by one of her transactions, like maybe the dollar amount. They asked her what her business was, and then once they reviewed it manually by a person, they decided they didn't want her to use their point of sale for her business. And she's like, okay. So that was a manual decision by an individual person.
Interesting.
So
yeah, I had missed that.
The PayPal sort of algorithm where it was just like harvesting people with large amounts still in their account and just being like, nope, 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 nope. And that hit dog breeders and fish people and all kinds of other stuff. Chinchilla breeders. That was an algorithm doing that. But she was knocked out by like an individual oversight person. As I said, money orders. Or wire transfers, bank to bank. You can't.
Don't those take like 100 years to go through nowadays?
But maybe it's okay. Yeah, there's certain breeders that like tout themselves as someone who can like
put your cash in an envelope and mail it to me.
Who can take a payment like immediately and be like, I'll send you your snake tomorrow to your door. And so they're a very low friction transaction. They can get you to buy snakes right away and just have them. And that seems like it's a good idea from a business standpoint, have as least amount of friction as possible. But it's actually not that great. So we want a little bit of friction because they're living things. They need to be taken care of. We need to know that they're going somewhere good. So I actually like building in friction, slowing people down, asking them for their ID, whatever. Because that means like the person who gets it actually wants it and won't take care of it, in my opinion.
And isn't like 11:30 at night impulse buying.
And they're drunk, which I've done too.
Yep,
right.
Guilty.
Guilty.
So, Morph Market updates. You want to go first on that?
Sure. Morph Market recently updated. They added, I think, 5 or 6 ball python morphs, a skink morph. They changed the name for a boa albino type from caramel-hypo, which isn't a thing. It doesn't exist. No one has ever referred to it that way, to what it is now, which is boa caramel. And that's because I complained about it.
Yay!
Yay! You too can complain. And maybe John will listen to you if you ask nicely. Yeah, since getting into the hobby back, I'm like, what is going on with Morph Market? This is nonsensical. Like, this is not a word that exists. And it didn't exist a long time ago either. It was a made-up name to protect confusion with another made-up name that doesn't exist either. So, boa caramel is now boa caramel. Palmetto was correctly reattributed to being incomplete dominant instead of recessive. The het palmetto is like classically hypo looking. It's very reduced black. And then the super form is now a white snake with little speckles on it. So that's good and correct. Probably Cinder needs to have the same thing done to it. And then the ball python genes, I think there's maybe 1 or 2 that maybe you would want to talk about.
I have some notes, probably more than I should. They added smoke. I have no idea why this was added. It looks like it needs some more work done. It looks like it's in the granite family, but I don't think that they've produced a super, or at least they haven't been able to provide photo evidence of a super.
Isn't that crazy that you're allowed to put a morph up?
I was a little confused. Tango is in the yellow belly complex, but is it just a really nice yellow belly? We're not sure yet. The yellow belly tango is a completely white snake, no gray on the head, no stripe. So that's why they're thinking that it's its own morph. That at least, okay, you've made it, but is there a super that they've made yet? No, there isn't. So why is this on Morph Market already?
I'm okay with John letting people put stuff on there so that they can sell it early, but why people choose to release their project early is what kills me a little bit. Yeah, that's confusing
to me. Yeah. I think that you at least need to produce a super before you even present it. It probably would be better if you put it into Clown and Pied and other things before you did that. Like Java. Java was released on there too, and that's a Marcus Jane morph.
Did you look at the
Very
super?
gorgeous.
It basically doesn't look like anything to me.
What? I think it's beautiful.
I mean, but it doesn't look like anything. It looks like a nice thing.
The super Pied?
Yeah, the Pied was...
Super Java Pied looked like...
I know, but did you see it without Pied? It looked like a single gene chocolate or something.
Stars in my eyes. It's like a... No, it's nicer than chocolate. It reminds me of cypress or mahogany, the single gene, not the super. But the super Java Pied looks like the super mahogany Pied. It's beautiful.
I know, but I almost think... I don't know what I'm talking about, but I almost think Marcus Jane put up the wrong photo for the super without Pied, because it doesn't look like what I even imagine the super would be of the thing, this incomplete dominant heterozygote.
Go through and look at it again, because I feel like the super was really beautiful.
Are we looking at a different picture?
Maybe we're looking at different stuff. We'll have to confer later on.
I saw the super copper today on Instagram like 10 minutes ago, and I was like, okay, look up that one. Put that one in your notes for next week.
I will look that up.
Report back.
Okay, super copper. Hang on, I'm right.
I don't even. And it's from the Netherlands. I still think it's probably a lilac with mahogany, but whatever. We'll see.
And then Striker Gene was on that list that came out. It looks like a really, really, really high quality, really, really blushed out disco or vanilla. All the combos that they put up with Fire almost were reminiscent of vanilla creams. So it's going to be really interesting. I'm going to I put that on my list of things to kind of watch.
Yeah, we talked about a Striker Gene a couple weeks ago, and they released pics. Remember that?
Nope.
Privately, obviously not. There was no podcast a couple weeks ago.
There was no podcast.
You sent me pictures of it, and you're like, look at this Striker. And I'm like, it looks like a weird GHI. And you're like, okay. And I was like, okay. And that was it. But... It's funny that it finally came up. Yeah.
About a lot of things, so I don't remember that.
That was one we have history with, which we don't really have with any of these other ones.
Right. So, I mean, it's interesting. It's definitely not disco or vanilla. It's much more blushed. You're right. It does have like a GHI feel to it. And then Carnivore, which Garrick de Meyer imported from somebody over in Europe that's working on it. And it kind of looks like leopard. It doesn't react like leopard in some of the combos that they've pictured along with its release on Morph Market, but it looks just like leopard in its single form. So
did you see his video where he did a side-by-side with leopard?
Garrick de Meyer?
Yes.
No, I only watched the first half. That was as much as I could handle. Like he said like 4,000 times, I wish this animal wasn't in shed.
Well, the next week or whatever, he does one after it's shed. And he brings out an adult leopard and side-by-sides them. It is 5 shades lighter. It does remind me also a lot of a leopard, but also sometimes a confusion. So it makes sense that it would be another dominant pattern thing that's kind of dark, but has cool morph potential.
It's for sure not leopard. It's definitely its own gene because its interactions in different basic, even like the pastel with it is different than a pastel leopard, but in its single gene form, other than the neck striping, it has a little bit of a different head stamp. It doesn't have the classic donut. It has more of like a fire. Anyway, it was interesting. That was my takeaway. Is there was some that I felt like there should be a standard of how much you worked it and how many things you've put it into, and before you're allowed to roll it out on Morph Market, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. I don't think that's John's job, but I do think people should try to keep it closer to home earlier.
Oh yeah, I don't think he should be the
arbiter,
policeman on that. I think we as an industry should police ourselves and not be releasing new genes that we haven't gotten a super from yet.
A little bird told me that might be what Morphopedia becomes. A council of elders will be selected and then anointed to be determiners of if genes are not just allelic or whatever, but are literally the same. And so we can all sort of mutually agree based on the council of elders.
I'm not against the council of elders as long as it doesn't become like an exclusive boys club.
Absolutely, it's going to become that. What are you talking about?
I mean, I feel like that's what happens a lot in the industry is it's this exclusive boys club, and if you're on the end, then your morph gets approved. If you're not on the end, like blank, but OFY, he got screwed over by John's Jungle.
Was the morph called OFY? Am I remembering that correctly?
His morph is OFY. He is dark side reptiles.
Okay. This is vaguely tickling memories, but I don't know the story.
Okay. He's been working on OFY for probably 10 years. He has the super, he has the clown, he has the pied, he has it in everything, and he's been trying to get it recognized. And like in January or June, it was one of the first ones they approved when they started their new system. But it's been a long time coming, and he's like, whose friend do I have to be to get... Like, he's put so much effort into this project and completely proved that it's a thing. And it's like, he still couldn't get it on World of All Pythons. He couldn't get it on Morph Market. And so having a better system in place, that's very exciting. But also, I don't want it to become...
Morph Market has a pretty standardized way to add. There's like a little form, and you put it on their little community, and they add it.
Isn't that newer, though?
Yeah, I guess it's like in the last year.
Yeah. So before that, it wasn't that easy to get your stuff added. But in the last year, they've done really well. And I like that. I also think that we as grown-ups in the industry need to work our projects a little more before we throw them out there. I mean, you can put them on your social media if you want to, but anyway, that's a personal opinion about work your projects first.
My only, rebuttal would be, let's just make up a story that someone had a project, they released a couple to the friend, and then the original person, whatever, had a fire and everything died. So you would still need a way to convey that is a new lineage, even if the information about whether or not the super is unique. So you have to give it a name and then be able to sell it. It's okay to name them in the Morph Market system early, but yes, you should not be releasing, especially not males, for a long time. Not that we have any morphs that are worth protecting. Just saying.
Hey, you don't know. Big things in our racks.
Can you tell me what's in my... any of it? That would be ideal. Very quick collection update. We had a bunch of stuff come in from Deb at Northern Regis. Most of it's Mojave flavored. There was a stranger danger in there. So that's exciting. I've sucked in. I've been part of the cabal now.
Oh, that's exciting. No, that's huge.
Yeah, the stranger clowns have always been very nice and interesting. If she proves het clown, that'd be great. I would not be mad if she, I don't know, whatever. What am I going to do about it? It's a long way away. And then while I was testing her and all of those, I actually did some prophylactic testing around the rest of the ball python collection, just because I just like to do that. That one came back negative, and then the other two in quarantine came back negative. And then I also tested a Russian rat snake who had the wildest RI, and then magically got better. Basically getting ready to take her to the vet, and then she's just snap, got better. And I'm like, whoa, I don't know what's happening. So I tested her for paramyxovirus. I don't know if you know this, but RAL can do a nidovirus for colubrids and the nidovirus for python and the nidovirus for boas separately. It's a separate assay.
Interesting. No, I didn't know that.
And then if you look up the nidovirus phylogeny, there's actually other snake respiratory viruses that are not very closely related to the one that we associate with nidovirus now. The Guangdong Mandarin rat snake virus. So I actually ended up messaging the director of the lab, Chad, for anybody to know, and being like, hey, do you think the assays might pick up these sort of very divergent viruses? And he's like, I don't know. I don't think so. They're that divergent. They're so far away. So yeah, she came back negative, but I don't know.
You're not happy with your negatives.
So she's just going to live in permanent quarantine just like everything else. So it's fine. But it was.
You have lots of rooms in your house.
Yeah, and I do have younger colubrids nearby, but basically her and her man, if she continues to do okay, will live in perpetuity as a mated pair with gloves and everything else, and never cross-contaminate with younger animals. I was going to breed her to the melanistic Russian that I imported and make 100% hets, but I won't do that now. I'll just let the two little baby melanistics be their own pair and never make hets with her, in case she is infected with a virus that is novel that I don't know about, that maybe causes seasonal respiratory symptoms. Because testing is one part of biohazard management, but the other one is assume that you don't know everything about every animal you have and act accordingly.
Yeah. That's a bummer. But also, it would be a bigger bummer if your imports got sick and died.
Yeah. So, like, if she had popped for, like, paramyxovirus or something, I probably still wouldn't have called her yet. I might have just moved her into, like, the garage or something with, like, a big heat panel and let them brumate together and then wake up in the spring normally.
Are you going to brumate her still and then test her?
Yes, I'm waiting for her to, like, look healthy.
Right. Don't put down a sick animal.
Yeah. Those are my rules for brumation. Is if they're sick for any reason, don't put them down. Or if they're substantially underweight, don't put them down. And Russians are supposed to be brumated for a long time, like 4 or 5 months.
Oh, wow.
Supposedly it's like analogous to fox snakes, where they need to be long and cold and not just like a brief little woo, which is what my current corn snakes do.
Did you have any other updates you wanted to share before I share mine?
I had a 100% slug out, which was not that fun, but that's okay. I don't know. I've moved on. And then I had a clutch that was stolen again by the GHI clown, which sounds...
Dude, bro, got it done.
Which sounds insane, because honest to God, she had 7 locks. I counted with the banana clown. And the GHI came in again on the last one and scooped the whole thing. There are no pastel and no banana. That's his 2, where he scooped it on 1 lock the last time.
That's awesome.
Even though he's a little 2020 nugget or whatever. Sorry, 2019, like a late
bloomer.
It makes me like wonder if the banana clown like didn't have good swimmers, if he couldn't capture any eggs when he was paired with 5 or 6 or whatever.
You have a whole bunch of babies from him the previous year, right?
Nope, those were sired by a het pied thing.
Oh,
unrelated.
Yeah, maybe. That's a lot of locks to lose out to one little dinky dude.
I know, it's crazy, and it's crazy
we're not sad.
It's in
clown.
And I got a GHI Inchy, so hopefully it's female. That would be my only sort of like combo of those two. And those things are wild looking too, because that one had the potential granite gene in them. I don't know if you remember that. There's a hypothetical granite gene in those babies, and extreme gene. They're all het clown, and they're GHI and Inchy with no pastel.
Look at GHI clown male babies.
It's cheaper than it should be, I think. You know, like a Cypress clown is $3,000-$5,000 or whatever male.
Yeah.
But a GHI clown male is only $1,000, $1,200 or something, somewhere around there.
Yeah, about 15 when I looked yesterday.
All right. Well, it's gone up maybe a touch, but you can still find them for $1,000. To me, it's still got a lot of excitement. The really nice
example ones are 15.
Okay, even then, it's still like half as much as another cool gene clown male that could go do something for you next year. But it still has a lot of combo potential and stuff. So it's almost at a bargain price to me.
Yeah, well, and I need a replacement for my banana Inchy, because I cannot breed him again next season and make 11 million hets with banana Inchy.
Yeah, you need to buy something this year that'll be your next year clown for sure.
Correct.
Or like
and
early
next year.
And then I'll
keep my banana Inchy as just a backup dude, but he cannot be my main man. But I just ran out of time to find something and quarantine it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, GHI. I don't know. I think I've fallen hard for GHI.
It's really exciting. I obviously have a lot of it, but You already have it in your G-stripe, so if you made like a super GHI Kiki by like taking it from the clown side.
That's what I was thinking about. That's why I was looking at it.
It might look like a cookies and cream Kiki or something. With the base would be very light still. The chevrons would be very dark, so it would be like white with black chevron.
It would be amazing. That's all I have to say.
Well, go ahead and go get a couple hundred additional snakes of any morph that you need. And let me know how that goes.
I'm supposed to be closed.
You are closed. Don't let it happen.
Shops closed. My collection updates. My Canada snakes from Billy and the other guy came in, and they were stuck in Indy, in case you missed that in our last podcast about my annoyance of having $8,000 of snakes just floating in the nowhere. They came in, and since they had been in their boxes for a couple of days, I feel pretty confident with their NIDO results being negative, because they were really stressed when I got them. Confident enough that I am going to, like I already did, I put the enhancer with a double het because they came together, they were from the same breeder, and they were really stressed, and they both are negative. So they're in quarantine together, but I am not going to wait to breed them. So they were put together. How much
she weigh?
She was 1,300, and she took 2 medium rats. So basically she's 1,500.
Okay.
I have not ultrasounded her, but I wanted to get them a lock-in because I have no idea where she's at. Once they come out of quarantine, I'll ultrasound her and kind of get an idea of where she's at. But I'm excited about that. I'm excited that I got a lock-in. I'm excited that it's finally stateside. Also got a little bonus girl with that pair from Billy. Thank you, Billy. Not that he's listening, but
could be listening.
Could be listening. She is Enhancer Het Clown, 66% Het G-stripe, and I am thrilled to have her in my rack growing up, because eventually, I'm going to have that male that's Kiki, Het Enhancer, or some combination of the above, and I'm going to have a girl that's big enough and not still tiny in my rack. So I'm really excited about having her. She's really dark though, so I hope that she creams up, because I prefer the creamy enhancer look over the... You
prefer cream pies?
I prefer the cream pies, yes. I know you're more for the black of the Desert Ghost, and she kind of has that look going on. But I asked Billy about it, and he said that they come out looking very similar to Desert Ghost, but as they age, they do that like warm up, cream up, smooth out. So it'll be interesting to watch her grow, because everything that I've gotten, my enhancer that I got from him in June, she's so beautiful. She is almost as bright and creamy as my pastel Desert Ghost, and she's just single gene enhancer. So she's beautiful. She's really nice to look at. The male that came in last week, he's really pretty too. So I'm really excited to have that finally, and to have the first negatives under my belt. That feels really good. Yay!
Yay! We did it. At least it's no longer Schrodinger's snakes.
It was the last purchase I made prior to deciding that I was going to be NIDO free and test everything and not purchase anything without an agreement or promise of return if it was positive. And it was the biggest purchase I've made. And so, Schrodinger's cat hanging over my head. And then there was some mix-up with shipping, and it, not from Billy, this was from the other guy that I bought it from, but Billy saved the day, and now I finally have them all, and I can give him his lineup. I had to move a few snakes out of his group because they're already at like 25 millimeters, but he might be able to sneak in. We'll see what his test results are in 60 days if I decide to bust him out of quarantine early.
He could scoop all the clutches, he could GHI clown style.
Yeah, he could scoop all the clutches. I'm just hopeful that he is fertile and can do a good job. And yay, he's here and I have him, and his first test was negative. I really couldn't be happier.
Today's main topic is Morph Market etiquette, but largely etiquette about buying snakes over the internet. So this would include stealth Facebook purchases and King Snake, which nobody buys from there anymore, and Fauna Classifieds, and Kijiji if you're in Canada, and Craigslist if you're in the US.
Is that what their Craigslist is called? Is Kijiji?
Yeah, they're fun people with fun tastes in names.
That is fun.
I wanted to touch on the base with this one because we've obviously been on the internet a lot, maybe too much. We have now
Thank you, COVID.
Established sort of personal preferences, both buying and selling, that we think are good tips. So if you're a new person or a seasoned person, or maybe you've like only been on the buying end and never on the selling end, this would be helpful to you when you get to go ready to sell or in your next Morph Market transaction. Make it more smooth. What was your first tip to a buyer?
So if you are buying a snake and it is being shipped to you, don't be the person that does not notify the seller that you have received a live living animal and that it is still alive. That is my biggest pet peeve as a seller, is when you put this living animal that you may or may not be attached to, I get pretty attached to all my snakes, into a box, and you send it off through FedEx's incapable hands.
And it goes to Indy 3 or 4 days. Minimum.
It goes to Indy for 3 or 4 days, and you are right there with it and updating your buyer, and you're stressed, and then yes, it finally arrives, and you let them know that it's finally arrived, and they quickly pick it up, and then silence.
I hate that a lot. It might be my top pet peeve, but the one little bit of nuance to that is, like, I can understand you don't message in the first 5 seconds. I have had a seller message me like within 20 minutes of me getting the box, and I was still in the parking lot doing my like FedEx parking lot thing, and I'm like, okay, hold on 1 second. Oh, so I can give you like an hour, but you've clearly opened the box and looked in it.
I'm talking about people who don't say anything for 24 hours.
Yeah. Pick it up, look in it.
Get home,
look in it, then tell me it's alive, and then we can be like, cool, we did it. Transaction complete.
Yeah, I'm talking about like within 6 hours is a reasonable time frame.
Yeah.
But when it's like creeping on midnight and I haven't heard from you and you picked up your snake at 10 a.m.
I think people think literally it's like Amazon, where we confirm it's delivered and don't care anymore or whatever. And I don't know how long your sort of guarantee is for a buyer.
I think on my Morph Market, I think it says 2 hours.
Mine's 7 days. 7 days. So I need to know it arrived and it's being set up and taken care of. Because
my live arrival guarantee, obviously, if somebody had something happen in the first week, yeah, I get that. I mean, like, if you don't message me after you pick up your snake, you're telling me that you assumed everything was great. Have some common courtesy and let me know that the snake is fine and that you're a happy customer.
Yes, I think that segues into, like, be polite. That's part of the polite process, is there's a human being on the other end of your messages, not a nameless corporation. So anytime some sort of interaction's happening, you need to be polite and you need to keep people abreast of the issues. Like, I've had people not pick up till the next day. Like, their snake arrived on a Wednesday, they didn't pick it up till Thursday at the hub. And I was like, that's unacceptable. I was like, please go get it. And I was messaging them. They were either leaving me on red on Morph Market or not responding at all, or not even opening it up. Don't do that. Please don't do that.
How many days later were they saying they were going to go pick it up?
Just 1 day, but I was like, it's arrived. And I was like, your hub closes at 8 p.m. You still haven't picked it up, because it was like an East Coast hub, which they always close later. Didn't pick it up, didn't respond. The next day I sent him a message. I tried to call him, but his phone number didn't work or something. And I'm like, you got to pick it up today. It's a living thing. He's waiting for you. He needs your help.
Shouldn't have to remind them that it's... Oh my gosh.
And obviously he picked the day to pick it up, and he didn't tell me something was wrong or whatever. So we picked a day to ship. It was shipped. He didn't pick it up. He picked it up the next day, but only after like 3 or 4
prompts.
Yeah. Tough. Please pick up your animals if you order them. What would he have done if it had shipped to his house and it sat on his porch for some number of days? I don't know. That one was really tough. Please don't do that. It's my advice to buyers. Pick up your animals on the day they arrive.
Or if that's not something you can do, communicate and we can ship on a different day.
We're laughing, but I'm actually crying inside. It was one of the worst things that's ever happened to me.
I probably would hyperventilate.
Yeah, it was a colubrid, and they're tough as nails. They're sitting at room temperature in a hub. They're fine. He was fine. He wasn't in mortal peril, but just like the disregard for the process felt very hurtful to me. I was like, this is not acceptable. This is a dumb tip, but here's a tip. Have your enclosure ready before picking up or ordering, or even opening up Morph Market.
Have your enclosure ready or have the rack space.
Yeah, or whatever's going on. I've literally sold someone a snake and then went to Walmart and they were in Walmart buying stuff for the snake. Like they picked it up, like I did it like an order online, picked it up, and I saw them in Walmart getting stuff for the snake.
Like with the snake in their hand?
It's probably in their purse, which is fine. You should keep snakes in your purse. But I heard them in the next outlet, like, we need to go get a light bulb to light the aquarium. And then I'm like, dying inside. And then they like wandered off and I didn't see them again. So it was prepare your enclosure in advance, or rack or quarantine space or whatever you're doing, please. Oh, and speaking of that, besides the husbandry failure of buying a red light at Walmart, the other thing is don't intake
red light is never the right decision.
Don't intake your new snake into their permanent enclosure. Also, even if you have no snakes and this is your first snake, you don't want to like put your new snake in a bioactive enclosure or your new snake into your nice thing you just bought, whatever that is. New snakes should always go into something disposable. If it has mites, it's sick, it dies, whatever. Not your final display enclosure. It needs to pass even a quarantine for its final enclosure too. A lot of people don't get that, and I don't know how many trees I have to shake to be like, listen, I get it, you like bioactive, but you can't bioactive every snake immediately when you get it, because you're gonna have to throw that stuff away if something bad happens. So do you want to spend all that money on soils and isopods and stuff and just be like, whoop, it all has crypto? The isopods can have crypto in their body.
Now it's getting dumped in the backyard in the compost heap.
Yeah, how many dollars of isopods do you want to dump outside? We know crypto can get into fruit flies and be transferred by fruit flies, like little fungus gnats, not fruit flies, but you know what I'm talking about. So
really?
Yes.
Like the nasty ones that are...
Yeah, that are basically everywhere because they like to live in like the cocoa because it's moist and nice. They can probably transfer nido and arenavirus just from like touching. You know, the touching problem. They're touching a poop. Touching. They're all touching. Crypto is the easiest one for them to transfer. Crypto's in poop to begin with. So what does a cleanup crew do? It cleans up poop. I would not assume that any bioactive material is safe after some sort of biohazard contamination event. So you either need to throw it away or bake it in your oven for a couple hundred years. Especially with crypto.
Oven, and then freeze it and then bake it in your oven.
And then leave it in the sun for about a decade.
And then throw it away in your trash can.
Yeah, so if you have a snake, you want to set it up and it's like kind of final enclosure. Do not spend the money on the bioactive part yet. Wait until it passes quarantine.
Yeah, I'm the idiot in the back that's totally doing that.
Yeah, don't do that. Don't start bioactive.
It's done.
Oh, did you start?
It's done, and I did it, and I'm dumb, and now it's all gone to pots, and now I'm like, do I throw out my whole bioactive that I spent the last 3 months setting up?
I don't know what to do with bioactive people. Like I love you guys, but I'm gonna fight you. I know you're not, because of the disease and all what you just stated, that you're not into it. I have bioactive now, but I don't start out in bioactive. You graduate to that once you've proven beyond a shadow of a doubt that you are not going to give the cuke a disease to spread to other animals. Because I can't beat the stupid fungus gnats. I've tried everything to I can reduce fungus gnats, but I can't finish them off. There always seems to be a couple. So unless you cover every cage with pantyhose material, which a fungus gnat cannot get into, that's the only way you could truly cut off that animal as a vector. Nobody seems to care. I don't know why. What are we doing?
I don't know. I'm doing it wrong. So educate me.
Yeah. Dang, well, this is for everybody else too.
I'm so excited, and I threw my 1/1 little baby albino checker garter snakes and this beautiful bioactive that I've been cultivating for 3 months, and I was so excited.
Oh, did you really?
I really
those ones you put in a bioactive?
Yeah, I should have put them in the 5-gallon on paper towels. I had it, and I just got so excited that I skipped all my own rules, and I just threw them in there because I was so excited. And then those were ones that got stuck in Indy for 3 days too. And the male was real sad when I opened him. So I shouldn't have put him in there anyway. I should have had him in a small container that I could closely observe him. But he died. And so now I'm like, now I'm in this predicament of bioactive ruiners.
Sorry. If you would have asked me, I would have said put it in a bin or somewhere in your quarantine area. It's real simple, just to make sure. Especially with how many times I see garter snakes dying from crypto in the end on Facebook. It's pretty often.
Yeah, I don't know. This is the second time I've tried to have garters, and it's gone awry. So I may just axe the whole thing.
Don't do that yet, but maybe take it easy. We'll try something else.
Next year we'll try again. I'm done with garters for the year. Well, I'm done with everything for the year. We're closed, and I'm not gonna put anything else through shipping, and because that was not good. So we're gonna just let everything settle. I've got a couple on my watch list that need second and third testing just for funsies. So I gotta kind of just let everything marinate for a while and not add anything new.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, I'm out of quarantine space. Literally got like racks in every room now, so that's fun.
That's part of my life mission. Is like the Jenga, but it's temporal instead of, and I guess it's spatial too, of like quarantine with enough time, with enough physical separation from the other things that are permanent residents in enough spaces. So I have like 4 kind of quarantine zones. But that's probably still not enough because I quarantine species separately too. So if I intake boas, they have their own room. Balls have their own room. But if a second set of balls come in, they get a third room. It's important not to mix your balls up.
It's really important not to mix your balls up. It's really important to keep your balls and your boas separate though too.
Mm-hmm. All of it separate. Be honest. You don't want crypto sneaking into your ball pythons either. By the way, they're not going to do good.
No, yeah, my kings are separate from my balls.
Yeah.
They're going to be going down for a nice long nap because they are all crypto negative on their first round. They'll get another testing when they come up from their long sleep. I'm excited about that. I've never brumated before. Zero experience with colubrids, and I'm really happy with the trio that I have and really excited about just something fun on the side. I enjoy king snakes. I enjoy having very, very small amounts of king snakes and their ability to... I did not feed the garter to the king snakes, in case you were wondering.
Good job. Don't do that.
Don't do that. Don't do that, people.
Good job.
You should redirect us because I think
I know
cold medicine.
You're going wildly off base. The other thing tip for buyers that I have is ask permission from whomever you need to ask permission to buy something before you start messaging. Like if you need permission from your mom or your girlfriend or your wife or your baby daddy.
Business partner.
It's usually just like an easy way that they think is polite to get out of a conversation. But
yes,
the best way to get out of a conversation where you're no longer interested in buying is saying, I'm no longer interested in buying. Thank you for your time. That is the correct answer. Not, let me go talk to my girlfriend and then ghost. Although that is 90% of all transactions.
Thank you for your time.
Yes, please do that. I actually love those. Those are like normal humans. Everyone else, I'm not sure what you are.
Anytime I have messaged that to someone, I have gotten a huge thank you for doing it correctly.
Yeah, it's crazy how many people... I can understand a little bit of fade if you haven't really started talking that much. Like if you have a question about an animal, their response is a full response, but not that great. And you're just like, thanks, I'll think about it. You've already pre-faded before you even gotten to the nitty gritty. But especially if you've had a lot of back and forth, please politely decline. Part of being the polite, that's the model of the theme of this whole show is be polite.
Be polite. Over communicate just a little bit.
I know the Morph Market chat feature looks like text chat, like on your phone, but don't treat it that way. Treat it still sort of formally. Like, I want someone to start with, hello. Give me like a full statement in English and say thank you. You don't have to like letterhead it and stuff like it's a letter, but I do want like a whole coherent thought, because I've definitely gotten just a number, which I'm assuming is an offer, or are you taking trades, or, you know, like, and even though this is the other thing, read the ad fully. I never accept trades. Occasionally I might think about it, but all my stuff says does not want to trade, offer is firm. So even if you still ignored all that, I would like a full sentence on the back end with maybe a thank you. That would lubricate your little offer quite a bit more than whatever I get most of the time.
I need to reiterate. Read the entire
Stop! That's cutting edge content.
Literally, I put the weight of the animal, what they are eating, if I know it, the pairing that produced the animal, and the date that I weighed the animal. So like, this is a current weight. All this information is in the ad, and then I get people, how much does this animal weigh? And it's literally, it's in the written part of the ad, and it's in the description that you can preset.
Maybe 50% of my messages are questions that are answered in the ad already.
Yes.
Even on Morph Market that prompts them, it goes like, hey, did you read the ad before messaging? It like gives them a prompt.
That's so easy to ignore, though.
If you're a buyer, you should have evaluated all of the content presented to you by the seller and then been like, what information am I missing? And that includes reading their store policy, going to their Facebook, going to their Instagram, making sure they're a real person, not starting out, maybe reading the reviews that get left, which are handy because you're like, okay, 10 positive reviews in the last 12 months. They're not like a super high volume person, but they have a consistent track record over this whole time, making people pretty happy. Okay, that's good information. Now I just have one question about the grandpa snake of this snake, just to double check. Okay, that's a good message. Please message.
I'm gonna review what you just said for the people in the back.
Oh God, it's not gonna work.
You see a snake on Morph Market. You like the snake. You read the entire ad. You click on the person who's selling its store. You establish how long they've been selling. You check their reviews. You check their social media. If they do not have reviews, if they do not have social media, go find a new snake.
That's true too.
But if they have reviews, if they have social medias, if you've established that they're a real human and that they get positive reviews, go back, read the ad again, then message the person.
My favorite customers are the ones that are like either ready to buy basically already, or they have questions that mean that they've internalized everything that's going on and actually have like a genuine interest in some other feature of the animal, which is almost great too, like lineage or whatever. I don't think it'll ever work. There's too much, people can't handle reading or something. And I worry about like too much information in the little like extra info section because it doesn't seem to matter what I write in there.
I don't think people read it.
Yeah,
I had one I put up, and the person, like, I literally pushed like upload ad, and the person like immediately messaged me, and they hadn't even looked at the gender of the snake.
What does that mean, though? Are they buying just any random gender in general and they don't care? I think I listed a pair. I was trying to drum up money from the Python was offering to sell me his adult female desert ghosts, and then he backed out. But so I was trying to sell my female clown pied and my male Mojave leopard double het clown pied as a pair to raise funds for my DG project. And so I had listed them together as a pair, and he hadn't read the ad. He hadn't read like I even put in the heading like which one was female, which one was male, and he like immediately like messaged me and was like, I'm buying them, blah 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 blah. And then he asked me like all these questions, and I'm like, literally all of those are in the ad. But I went ahead and rewrote out all the stuff that I had put in the ad, and he was like, oh, the clown pied's a female, I wanted a male, never mind, bye. Which is okay, because he like didn't ghost me or anything. Right.
He said, oh, I'm no longer interested. But like he had like I'm buying these already and hadn't even read the ad. Like, don't commit to buy if you haven't even read the genders of the snake. Like, take a breath. Like, it's literally, it's not an auction site, or it's not like...
Although sometimes you are like competing with other buyers.
Quickly, but not so quickly that if they've just posted that you can't read the entirety of the ad.
Right.
It's okay to take those 2 minutes and read the ad.
That's right. I agree. 100%. I think all sellers have this problem in general, but anytime we can double down on read the ad, that'd be great. Keep going. The other thing people need to do is think about if their extra requests are onerous or not. Like if there are 3 good pictures of the snake already up and there are 5 more pictures on Instagram from when it was born, do you need another 3 pictures? Be honest. Do you?
Well, that's something that they encourage in like the ball python, the pet keeping realm. Like the ball python groups on Facebook that are geared towards the pet industry keepers. They say, you know, get a picture, have them write your name. So that's like what they're teaching them. And I don't know
the problem is like they need to explain that that's for like a private party transaction, like between 2 people on Facebook, not between a business and it's being wrongly normal buyer.
I don't know how we can get that information to people in the pet industry that like if you're coming on to Morph Market and I have 3 pictures and it's also on my Instagram, that right there is verifying that I'm not a scammer. They think that they need to ask for those so that they're proving that you're not a scammer, and what they're doing is just creating more work for the breeders.
Right. So if you're in the market for a pet and you're going to a breeder who already has a track record and you just don't believe that they have a track record, then don't even bother messaging, because you cannot be convinced based on all of the evidence that is already in front of you. You don't need to do that sort of extra due diligence for private party where nobody has any extra verification. I will often be like, I'll give you a tub shot. I have time for a tub shot. It's easy. But I'm not going to set up an outdoor pick session just for you. Sorry. I've given videos to people if they want to just like confirm, I don't know, like how it moves or something that's not doesn't have any like defects in how it exists. That's
I do
fine.
get video requests quite often. I would like a video of you holding the snake.
That's definitely to prove that you have it and it's not dead.
Had people ask me for videos of the snake eating to prove that it's eating and not a hunger
That
strike.
one kills me, but it's okay, I guess.
I do it. It's really obnoxious because a ball python that's not used to eating on camera, which is all of my ball pythons, they don't want a camera in their face. And so even if it is an eater, like sometimes they don't eat, which is a mess because then you're like, I'm a liar, but I'm not actually a liar.
I have one more buyer recommendation, which is no gaslighting and or stalking. We move the conversation to text, so I think that they're a serious buyer when we're discussing the animal. And they're like, I'm getting ready to pay. I'm so close. I might pay soon.
I'm definitely paying today.
I'm thinking about paying, but I'm scared. And I was like, please don't message me anymore. So I had to take him down because this person was like pretending to be ready after multiple rounds of pictures and whatever, but then was like gaslighting me about how ready they were or weren't. It was terrible. The other one is I've sold things to people online and they immediately start driving to pick it up without making an appointment. They just know I'm in Yelm. They don't know my address or whatever. They're just already driving. And I'm like, you can't just start driving without settling on a time. I'm not a store, I'm a person. It's 7:00 at night. So now I have to like figure out if I have time to bundle up the snake and meet them at Tractor Supply or whatever. I'm like, whoa, please don't do that. This is good for Facebook and Craigslist stuff. Do not assume that you're able to go pick up immediately and someone's available. People have lives.
And if that is important to you, discuss it before you send money. Or if you're paying in cash. I
had somebody who didn't even send me money. He's just like, I'm driving that way now. I'll be there soon. I'm like, whoa, slow down.
We were not to that point in the transaction.
No, I know. We were just talking about taking pictures. And now you're like, basically my coming out here. Just get out of here. Stalkers. That was my category. It hasn't happened a ton, but it has happened twice in the last year where people just decide to start driving this way. And even though the transaction is either not complete at all or they just paid and they've just decided to show up. I had a guy drive from Portland. I was like, why are you driving? You have a long way to go. What if I wasn't here? What if I was like...
I was out of town.
Yeah. You couldn't pick anything up because there would be no way to go get it. I don't know. It was crazy. Don't do that, everybody. Confirm before you leave your house to go get your animal. I know you're excited. It's cute.
I'm an over-confirmer with that kind of stuff. Like, if I don't hear from you, we've set up a time to meet, and I'm supposed to be leaving. If I don't hear from you when I'm supposed to be leaving, I don't leave.
Yeah, no, don't. Because people flake on each other all the time.
Hey, I'm supposed to be leaving to come pick up this animal and meet you at this time. Is that correct? And if I don't hear from that person, I'm staying home until I hear from that person.
You should.
I've taken the pill. I see the world as it is. I'm living in the Matrix. I cannot Craigslist, Facebook shop anymore, which is tragic to me because some of my most favorite snakes were purchased this way. But that's just it's not a responsible way to
you can still do it if you're willing to lose that money on that transaction. And if it doesn't work out, basically is my advice to anybody at home who's like, I want a snake from a random person on my local Facebook group.
Hey, my clown breeder mail.
No, there's a lot of perfectly healthy, reasonable snakes just in private hobbyists' hands. Do they come with a guarantee for like health and wellness? Probably not. So you have to be willing to lose that money if upon testing if you find out bad secrets. And usually like the price drop is worth that risk sometimes. Not all the time though.
Well, or you also don't know if you're actually getting het.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Super bummed. My Mojave het pied to my coral glow pied. 4 of the eggs went bad because I think my coral glow pied has got no good on the swimmers, and the 2 that lived, I cut them and neither are pieds.
She still could be het. Does she look het?
Totally. Yeah, it's not enough. It's not enough to rule her out, but I'm bummed.
The last one for buyers is leave reviews. You don't know how important reviews are to sellers on Morph Market and Facebook. No one has ever come back to my Facebook to leave a review. By the way, I wish they would, but part of my like final call to action on a Morph Market transaction should probably be like, please leave a review. Even though like when you turn the item to sold, it sends them automatically a little...
I absolutely always follow up every sale after I've checked on that the animal has arrived safely. I check that they're happy with their purchase. I always say, please leave an honest review. I don't say positive because maybe they thought I sucked. Cool. Go leave a review about how much I sucked. But please go leave a review about your experience. Obviously, I'm amazing, so they wouldn't say that I sucked. But
10 out of 10.
But I always say, please go leave an honest review.
Yeah, I've thought about like copy pasting some sort of little blurb that sounds nice.
Oh, that's so smart. I should do that.
Instead of typing it out every time, but I don't like begging people for stuff. I don't always remember to leave reviews also. It's just like a modern age problem. But if you can remember to, it's helpful. I do review my customers. Because if you leave me a review on Morph Market now, you can leave your customer review about how communicative or helpful or easy to work with they were. And so you are now being reviewed too as a buyer. So be aware of that if something happens.
That's interesting. I didn't know that. I don't.
Yeah, buyers now have like a star and then like a rating. Like if you're a level whatever, how many times
I knew about the ratings. I didn't have any idea how they came about. There's like the colored stars. Is that what you mean?
So part of how cool of a buyer you are is how many high reviews you have from sellers.
Can you see how many you are, or can only other people see?
No, you can see it somewhere. I don't remember where. I've seen it. I've seen mine. Apparently I've logged in a lot. Whoops.
What color
and I'm
are
already
you?
like a 4, like level 4, even though I don't have any reviews because I haven't bought anything recently.
That's amazing.
I'm a 4 based on number of logins. But remember, as a buyer, you should leave a review and you will receive a review. And I think that's good of Morph Market. First, there's a lot of stuff sellers should do. There's actually like more work for sellers than for buyers because clearly the onus is on you to have a good presentation, but obviously good pictures, a good and complete description with no obvious oversight in the categories. Like if you don't say what year they're born, people are going to ask you, no matter what the species is, in my opinion. The other thing is to be aware of the conventions within the species. So it's very normal to have weights for ball pythons. And I would expect a ball python ad to have weights. It is not normal to have weights for boas. It is normal to have weights for crested geckos and leopard geckos. It's not normal to have weights for corn snakes. So
it's not normal to have weights for garters either.
Right. So you can still ask for that, but I wouldn't immediately like ding a gartered or snake seller because he didn't feel like weighing his literally 2-gram baby. They're all the same. You can tell that it's from a 2021 litter. They're almost all born within the same couple of months. There's very little variability there. Maybe as the snake gets older, you're like, is it 3 years old? Maybe I want to know the weight then, but I can tell you're a new person if you ask me to weigh a boa. Boa does not need to be weighed almost ever for any reason. You breed them based on age and body condition, of course, but like if you have some sort of arbitrary number, like they need to be 12 pounds by 4 years old or they don't breed, you're confused about what species you're working with because they have such a high range of like polymorphism in size across their range. So an arbitrary identifier of weight doesn't mean anything. I'd still be willing to like receive the request and be like, okay, it's 80 grams, this baby, but that doesn't mean anything to you or me. The better determiner of size in a boa to me is prey size, because that's pretty standardized as like a little bit of a bulge. So if you told me your boa eats large mice, I know exactly how big that boa is without needing to know the length or weight, just based on the prey size. In ball pythons, though, they've heavily fixated on weight, so you're going to have to weigh them all the time before you post them.
I heard that there's a buyer, like a big name buyer, I don't know who it is, and I'm not like keeping that information to myself, that refuses to weigh their snakes.
What was it, Blind Strike, who had a video where he was asking?
And I've heard that too from others, that they've asked people and been told no.
If a seller really doesn't want to do it, it's fine, I guess. I think ball python people do overly fixate on weight. Like if you were like, this is a 2015 female of a morph combo I like. She's had one clutch last year that was 10 eggs. And it was late in July. And there's a picture of her that's within the last month, and her body condition looks good. I would probably just buy a Nido or whatever, also inclusive. I don't actually need to know her weight. It is relevant.
I agree.
But
between, like 6 months and 3 years old, you can have if it's never been bred, not proven, you can have a 3-year-old that's 900 grams, or you can have a 3-year-old that's 2,000 grams.
It's much more relevant when they're almost breedable or kind of breedable to see where they are on like the trajectory. So I still do weigh and post weighted, even for males and stuff. It really doesn't matter that they weigh a lot because it's the industry standard. And I don't feel that bad about it, but I definitely don't weigh corns, baby corns. I do adult corns, but not boas at all of any size.
Did we say year? Put the year they were freaking born.
Put as much information as you have.
I'm going to ask you for the year of their birth. Tell your customers the year of birth. If you don't know or you're not willing to share, that's a red flag for me, and I'm not going to buy from you. I don't care if you have all the best stuff. Like, just do it. Just put the year of birth. If you're gonna maintenance feed, own it, and tell people when the snake was born. I just don't get that. Sorry, little rant.
The hard part about that one is it's clearly an attempt to hide maintenance feeding. He literally just doesn't know the year they were born because he's a wholesaler or whatever.
Are you sure that it's not that he just doesn't know because he's getting all of his snakes from someone else? Also, I don't feel like everybody knows that.
In every situation? Yeah, but so like when I don't know, I always estimate a year based on like they were an adult when I got them, and I know they had that snake for 2 breeding seasons, and then I just pretend that's their age. Well, I don't pretend. They go into my Husbandry Pro as that age, and then it has like estimated age 2016.
That's what I do. If I don't know, it's a 2017. If it's bred before, like it's a proven breeder.
Yeah, I bought a bunch of adults from the same person, and I didn't exactly catch exactly when those females were born. But I knew which ones had 2 clutches and which ones had 1. So then you can just work backwards.
Correct.
That they were probably 2.5, maybe 3 when they first bred. That's a fine answer to me.
That's not as knowing an adult female's exact year of birth is different than knowing a 200-gram hatchling if it's a 2021 or if it's a 200-gram hatchling from 2020. Like, I need to know that.
Right. Sellers, please list that information.
Well, like, and I'm more apt, like, if I know you're a maintenance feeder and I know that that's a 2020 animal and it's only 200 grams, I actually am probably more willing to buy that animal than your 2021 200 gram animal. Like,
right, because
yeah,
it
you're
would
not
be
willing to tell me.
breedable within 6 months as a male. Anyway.
Right. But if you're not willing to tell me the age of that animal, then I'm not willing to buy any of your animals. Where they think that they're like doing themselves a favor by not telling me it's a 2020, actually, that's not a terrible thing. If you're going to maintenance feed, own it. And like, let's just be honest about it. And that actually might be what someone's looking for.
Right. I've had people be honest with me, and I've not bought from them because the animal was too small. And knowing what I know now, that you can get a 200 or 300 gram male in June and have him breeding in January, as long as he was born the year before.
Prior, yeah.
I probably should have bought that animal. But they told me they fed every other week on purpose to keep them small enough for shows. And I was like, okay. Thanks for your time. I know
Also,
other people do that too.
Applause.
At least they admitted it.
Freaking honest.
Yeah. Well, they had like
your own educated choice.
They had a weight, which was 200 grams, and that weight had been updated in like, I don't know, February or something. So I'm messaging them in the summer to get a baby to breed in the fall from the year before. And I'm like, what's the updated weight? 300 grams. So it only put on 100 grams in 6 months. And I was like, oh, man. Like, I'd hoped it had gained more. And since
right. You wanted a 4 or 5 or 600
it was much
male.
closer to being appropriately sized to do work the next year. Well, so that's why I declined. It's fine. Ball pythons are hard. All right, what else should sellers do? Sellers should offer disease testing guarantees. Sorry, sellers.
100% needs to be industry standard. I think that industry standard, if you are going to part with a breeder, male or female, after the season, when you're done with the season, especially female, once they've laid, even for your own personal collection, you should be testing that female for nido. And if you're going to part with that female, you should be able to list in your ad, this female was negative for nido on this date. Like, why can we not have that in the world? Why is that not something that we're doing? I feel like every other industry of snakes that has gone through these disease catastrophes, I feel like are talking about it. And we are just like, no, Nido, that's not a thing. That's a boogeyman story.
I don't know any snake hobby that's 100% good, to be honest.
But they're at least talking about it.
Sort of. I mean, they're getting better. Like, the ball python is getting better also, but it's still not a universal truth.
Not even close.
No. And there's a lot of sellers who have a no return policy, which I think all sellers should reconsider that policy. That, you open the box, it's yours. If it came alive, it's yours. There's no returns. Satisfaction window is no time, like 1 hour. Look at it. Is it alive? Okay. Your problem now. We need to get away from that right away. Because there are reasons why someone might need a return that don't have anything to do with infectious diseases. It arrived and it prolapsed immediately. Which sometimes they happen because they're stressed out or whatever. If someone doesn't want to deal with that and they can get the prolapse to return, that animal is probably more likely to prolapse later. So it needs to go back. So if you don't have a quarantine space specifically for return snakes, then you need to reestablish your setup. If you can't return snakes back to you, to be re-quarantined for reintake. Or, I don't know, they're stuck in Indy for 4 days and they all have something else wrong with them that's not a disease. And the person's like, I'm not satisfied. I would like to return them because of a shipping failure. It's not your fault, but they're going to need to hold them until the animals stabilize and then return them. It shouldn't be you got your box of snakes, fuck you. In many ways, besides the disease testing ways.
Yeah, I do feel like that is industry standard. Like, you got your stuff, don't contact me again. And that in no other pet industry is that acceptable.
It's also grounds for lawsuits. There's case laws where people have sent somebody something that was like a parrot that was infected with a parrot disease. And they found out 3 months later. And they successfully sued them in small claims court for being sold a defective product, which was a diseased pet. Does that sound familiar?
Yeah.
Yeah. So every seller in the hobby needs to decide how they want to deal with immediate transaction disease testing question. If they swab immediately, how many days do they have to either to give you a response or return it or whatever? Or are you going to euthanize if it comes up positive? And it's becoming more and more of a thing. So even if you think that you don't want to offer a return for positives, people are going to be stealth testing your stuff anyway when they buy from you, and will spread rumors about your stuff if you don't want to ever like let the genie out of the bottle in terms of your collection.
Yeah, I was listening to Animals at Home, Elijah Snyder. Basically, like, I feel like his intake procedure is open the box, swab the snake, put the snake back in the bag, close the box, put the box on his counter, FedEx his test to Raul, and he says he gets his by the end of business the next day. So he must be closer to Texas than we are, because for me it takes 2 business days to get my results.
USPS.
Do you get yours end of business same day if you use FedEx?
Yeah.
I need to do that. So he leaves the snake in the box for those 24 hours while he's waiting for his NIDO results. And if it comes back positive, he tapes that box back up and he ships it back to the person who it came from. So it never enters into a quarantine. It never enters into any of his biospaces. And like literally he's touched it with gloves and swabbed it. And that is the only contact that he has had with that snake. So if it's a positive, there's zero way that he could have infected that snake, even though that we all know that that's not how it works. Genius. Like, so smart. Why can we not have that as industry standard?
The only problem with like that idea is if you got a Tuesday for Wednesday, you overnighted your swabs, it's Wednesday for Thursday. You can't ship your snake back Thursday for Friday.
Right.
And so you have to hold it.
An animal like without water that long either. But just the idea that we can immediately have turnaround on those things.
Yeah, like that's why
be doing that.
That's why we have 70 quarantines, because we need to know right away, and then we need to either euthanize with the seller's permission or return it. And I think there should be more returning and like double checking results. We don't necessarily need to euthanize everything immediately. But if the seller's like, I thought I was good, the shipping knocks something loose because of the stress, maybe they want to bring it back and then have it sent off to be sequenced, because maybe they were using an assay that targeted a particular strain and your other lab brand targeted a different strain and they didn't know. So that's why sellers have to rethink how they're managing sending stuff out in many ways. And all of this should be in your store policy, by the way, whatever your rules are for this, so people know that you're willing to have a testing guarantee, or that you've tested them at whatever interval you've tested them. Put that in their little animal profile. If I sell an adult, I try to test it within a couple of months of listing it.
Selling.
Yeah.
Right.
Or sub-adult. I don't test babies because I keep them in a separate room.
Well, I randomly test babies just for peace of mind. Every single baby isn't being tested, and they're not all being tested every 3 months. It's like literally, I'm sending out 5 tests today. Let's go swab a baby just for peace of mind.
Well, if you feel like your like cross-contamination risk is low, you shouldn't have to swab the babies at all, technically, to the people out there.
I did bring in a collection of babies.
Oh, so you're testing the like external babies?
Yes.
Okay.
They are not ones I produced. They are external babies. I bought a big collection and it came with the babies. And so I have 25 babies that I have randomly tested one every time I've sent out testing for adults. They were kept separately. They were fed separately on a different day. Like, they should be totally fine. But I've bought a sub-adult that tested positive before. So, fool me once. So I do. Every time I send out a group of testing, I will grab up one of those and test it just for kicks.
But to the people at home, if you have isolation between your aged cohorts, there's no vertical transmission for nidovirus, also known as serpinovirus. So you should be okay for not testing a year's production if you keep them clean. No cute Instagram pictures of mommy and baby in the same picture.
Hanging out. Yeah.
Ever. You're not cute. Please don't do that. It's like the cringiest thing that I've ever seen.
That I just adore maternal incubation. And when I first got into ball pythons, I was like, I'm going to do that, maybe like 1 or 2 snakes a year. And now I'm like, I'm never doing that. Yeah, never, ever.
There are risks.
Never. There are 0 risks to your eggs going into an incubator and being incubated in an incubator. And there is huge risk. I mean, I test, but I'm not infallible. Tests aren't, well, maybe they are infallible. I feel like maternal incubation is an unnecessary risk to the babies.
Absolutely. It's cute. I agree. But you would have to... The way to do it correctly would be to test the mother exhaustively, be very confident in her status, and then
have raised her yourself and produced her yourself.
Right. Like if you could have...
maybe raised and produced the father yourself, then maybe. Then maybe
right.
I might consider it.
Right. So it's not off the table all the way, but it's off the table a lot.
Yeah, I probably won't ever do it now that I have a better understanding of Nido and having safe practices, and it doesn't make sense to me to put the babies at risk.
Right. It's almost never really necessary to do that, except for your own sort of selfish desires to see it, how cute it is. I think that's pretty much it for my seller advice. Because most sellers figure it out eventually, like to be polite and answer the questions that are asked them, even if they're whatever, because they're motivated by trying to make the sale. They try to take good pictures and post complete advice. The thing that sellers are missing is an awareness of disease management within the context of that financial transaction. Also, if I've ever messaged you and you ghosted me as a seller, you're on my blacklist. Sorry, bud.
Yeah.
So I've messaged people who've been like, hello, my name's Jessica. I have important questions and you're not addressed in your store policy. Left me on red.
So I tell people that and they don't believe me.
Yeah, it happens all the time.
I tell people that you've been ghosted because you're asking if you can test or if they're willing to test.
Yeah, for dumber reasons.
I'm like, so many times.
Yeah. I have a list of just people who just tell me to fuck off, basically.
Is that on the Discord, your list?
Yeah.
Should inquiring minds need to know?
Yeah, you just look up a person. But lots of people have been very gracious and curious and happy to work because they care. Also, they just didn't know. They were literally ignorant of the topic. So with the good and the bad.
See, that's what I've been encountering is the gracious ignorance and willingness to learn.
Yeah, and that's great.
I haven't encountered the ghosting, and I've been terrified by your stories of ghosting. And so
I had a strikeout rate of like 70% where people would be like, no, straight up no, or don't talk to me anymore after I ask if I could test on intake.
I think I've been ghosted twice, but everybody else has been, I think their initial reaction to it is, are you trying to scam me? But once you have a good conversation about it and they understand, like, if there's a positive, I'm going to, like, so this is I don't know what your policy is, but if there's a positive, I'm going to ship the snake back to you at my own expense. And once you have received said snake, I would like a refund of my money.
That's what I say to them. Usually in practice, they don't talk to me or they tell me to euthanize before it ever even goes back in the box.
I have returned one and euthanized the rest myself.
Right. So they say that, but they usually don't even want it back most of the time. But
I think they feel good knowing that you're not trying to get a free snake. So saying I'm going to ship it back to you at my own cost before I want my money back makes them feel more confident that you're not just some weirdo scammer with this.
I know. I've said that verbatim and people have ghosted me for that. I've tried it 2 different ways, like more words, like maybe 3 bullets, like, hi, I'm interested in buying your animal. It's really beautiful. I love the lineage. B, I would like to test it on intake with a oral swab by Ral, which does not hurt the animal. I will know the results the next day and can message you. C, if I get it back and it's positive, can I return it at my own expense for a full refund minus shipping costs? Then they don't talk to me anymore. Or just be like, hey, can I talk to you about maybe doing like a shorter, just like 1 sentence? Can I talk to you about maybe doing a Nido swab on intake? That one is, they both fail at an equal rate. Too much information and not enough.
Yeah, I'm more of a middle road girl. I'm like, I want to buy your snake. How do you feel about me testing it for Nido using, Rao Labs? If positive, I would return snake at my own cost. I guess that sounds long-winded, actually.
Right, that's basically what my long-winded one is.
Yo, Nido, your snake is really low risk for Nido. I don't know why I always add that. And it makes people feel like reassured. Like if it's a hatchling, I'm like, hatchlings have almost no risk of Nido non-breeding. If it's a non-breeding or like not a proven, I always throw that in there. A snake that's never bred has a very low risk.
Does it though? I feel like you might be.
Oh, I'm totally like trying to just make them feel better.
You know they clean by moving all their hatchlings to the same bin, and that's the same bin their adults go in.
But for some reason, like sandwiching it with that like feel good fuzzy of I'm buying it and I'm pretty sure you don't have Nido, but it's just my standard procedure.
I don't know. I think if you're asking right now, things are better than if you were asking a year ago when I was trying to buy most of the ball pythons to like fill out my collection, because Elijah's interview on Animals at Home came out in, what was it, February of this year, January?
Such a good interview. If you have not watched it, please go watch it. It is
we'll
vital.
Have Elijah on, because Elijah is our Discord buddy.
Phenomenal interview. I cannot wait to talk to him.
We'll let you know whenever Elijah's coming on.
And we'll do like a full 2 hours of Nido disease testing and prevention and what it should look like in our day-to-day activities and what intake should look like and what outgoing should look like. It's going to be a good one. I'm excited.
100%. It just takes a little bit of preparation. And Elijah doesn't have to come on for that one per se, but I think he shares our views on how testing is an important part of managing this part of the hobby, because some people do not think that is true.
So do you think we'll do one that's an interview with him and then one separate one with just talking about Nido?
Yeah, maybe. Because maybe I don't necessarily want to repeat the Animals at Home interview verbatim. Like, please tell me your exact story again, Elijah.
No, that's not necessary.
Yeah, no. So instead of making him go through all the Nido torture again, all the story, it'll be like, how have you been last year or whatever? And maybe we can have a separate Nido one that's just like, Nido, frequently asked questions. What are the things you need to know right now to protect your collection and protect other people's collections? And then we'll get him on it. He will obviously talk about Nido, but it'll be not a repeat of Animals at Home. It'll be, what have you been doing since that interview? Been doing other stuff. Living his life.
I think we did it.
Did we do it? I think we did it.
We did it. Dayquil and everything. Don't pound a bunch of Dayquil and then record a podcast.
You were doing okay for being half lit on Dayquil, though.
I don't ever take Dayquil. I spent 8 years either pregnant or breastfeeding. Can you say breastfeeding on a podcast?
Hell yeah.
I don't even know.
Titties.
Anyway,
this is Ass and Titties podcast.
Like extended breastfeeding and couldn't take Dayquil or NyQuil. And so with this cold, I was like, oh my gosh, I can take Dayquil. So it may be a little bit of a Dayquil lightweight at this point in my life, but it's glorious.
Excellent. So if anybody wants to contact Dayquil, where can they reach her at Dayquil?
Dayquil is on Instagram at ASM Royal Tails, all one word, no underscrolls.
Scrolls.
Scrolls, baby girl.
You said scrolls. Like this is Elder Scrolls.
Maybe just cut that part out.
I don't know. I might leave it in. That's pretty good.
Anyway, ASM Royal Tails on Instagram. I'm Jana King. And where can they find you?
I guess you can find me on Instagram if you want. So far, successfully, no one has found me by message. They might have looked at me, but they didn't message me. So I feel like we're in a good space of not being found. Let's keep that going. Good job, everyone.
And I feel like if Rip City Pythons makes it through all 3 of our episodes all the way to the end, he really does deserve a discount.
My shipping window is ended, so it's pickups only because of it's all deadly now. So if you want to buy something, you need to get on that payment plan, and I will ship you come mid-January, whenever stuff normalizes again. But this payment plan now is there's no rules. If it's $125, 25% down, just pay once shipping restarts. So there's no like price limit to payment plans now because it's Christmas.
It's all fair game.
Merry Christmas, because I can't ship it to you anyway. So there's no price limit. That's all. Do you have anything for sale, Jana King?
I have one snake up on my Morph Market. He's not really for sale.
What? That's not Morph Market etiquette, by the way.
I was gonna buy him at the price that I have him at anyway, and I kind of already named him, and I might be moving him into my garage.
Oh, the banana cheese stripe?
Lesser GHI cinnamon.
Is it a head cheese stripe or visual?
It's head. Okay. But I can use them in my highway projects He's got like 6 genes or something. He's crazy. I don't know. He's for sale. If somebody wants to buy him, I probably would sell him. But I'm also not sad that he's still in my rack.
What's in your rack?
I might be moving him into my rack.
Oh, the banana cheese
Banana
stripe?
lizard, GHI, cinnamon.
Is it a head cheese
belly,
stripe or
head.
visual?
It's head.
Okay.
But I can use him in my highway projects. He's got like 6 genes or something. He's crazy. I don't know. He's for sale. If somebody wants to buy him, I probably would sell him. But I'm also not sad that he's still in my rack.
What's in your rack?